You still have control.
Oh, do I?
Yep. Hey, we're live. Hello, everyone.
Yay.
This is a special Friday. We got Amber Mac here.
Hello.
And Len's going to illustrate.
Yes.
Len and Amber have never met before.
This is a meeting of the minds. It's going to be great.
This is so cool. I love that I get to be part of this.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
All right. Ready to go?
Let's do it.
Roger, you good? All right. Here we go. Where's the record button again? There we go.
The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by me. Aw, thanks, me. If you also wish to bring it, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. That's dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, May 20th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Miss Amber Mac from ambermac.com, co-author of Outsmarting Your Kids Online. Good to have you back on the show. It's been way too long, Amber.
It has been way too long. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Darren Kitchen is out and about hacking the planet today, but Len Peralta is here as well to illustrate the show as he does Fridays. How's it going, Len?
It's going really well. And you said the book is How to Outsmart Your Kids Online. I think I need to read that.
Absolutely. You know what? I might be able to send you a copy, so you should definitely check it out.
Play your cards right, Len. Depends on how if you put her in the illustration today.
Oh well, I will. I have some room in the drawing.
I love it. It better look good, and I'll send you 2 books.
Yes, excellent score.
All right, we're going to talk about Apple's new retail store and whether this is the new model for retail, especially for consumer electronics going forward. But let's start with some headlines. Google's ATAP division, that's the Advanced Technology and Projects division, the one part of Motorola that they kept, announced a modular smartphone. Well, you already know about the modular smartphone, Project Aura, will ship to developers this fall, and a consumer version is aimed for release for you to buy sometime in 2017. Phone module is now built into the frame, so there's no separate module for the phone, but there are now 6 open slots that anything can use. Modules can be removed and added without rebooting the phone. They showed that on stage at I.O. If you want to develop a module for Project Aura, you can request a developer version of the platform at atap.google.com/Aura. That's A-R-A. I'll be honest, Amber, I didn't think this would ever really come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the first company with a modular phone, but I will say this reminds me of one of those gadgets because I've had so many over the years that sits on my shelf. I maybe use it once and then it kind of goes away. It just feels a little bit like that. Like it's kind of gimmicky, and I can't really see the long-term potential for something like this. I think people would lose some of the different parts, and then in many ways that just doesn't make sense.
And there are other takes on this happening with removable backplates from Motorola, or LG has that thing where you kind of have to take the battery out and then you can put in modules. This is certainly more easy to use, but you're right. Like, are you going to lose modules? Not because they'll fall out, but just because, you know, when you're swapping them around, you got to keep the ones you're not using somewhere, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard enough for some people. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but to just keep their smartphone on them all the time, they tend to lose it on a regular basis, leave it in taxi cabs. So I think the idea of having all these different parts to it, I think it'd be cool to try out, but I don't see it being a huge win for them.
Yeah, I get upgradability becomes an interesting thing. It's both easier and harder, right? Because maybe you don't keep a bunch of modules, but you just swap them out when new ones come out. But that also means you're constantly upgrading. So I don't know if that causes a problem for people as well. Google ATAP also announced an update to Project Jacquard. If you don't remember, that was a partnership they announced last year at I.O. with Levi. They're going to do it with multiple clothing makers, but Levi will still be the first to weave multi-touch sensors into clothing. ATAP's Ivan Popurov announced plans to launch a connected smart jacket aimed at urban cyclists that he says will allow wearers to do things like control their music, answer phone calls, access navigation, and more, all by tapping and swiping on the jacket's sleeves. So you just tap to turn up the volume, tap to answer a phone call, tap to get the weather. So you can swipe on your sleeve. There's a tag in there that you put in the sleeve that pairs with an app, and then you can pull that tag out and charge it over USB if the battery starts to run down. Beta test is launching this autumn with public availability expected in 2017. What about that one, Amber? You want to wear your cycling jacket with a built-in touch screen in your sleeve?
Well, you know what? Okay, so I think this is obviously a very niche product, and I know people who are cyclists, especially urban cyclists, they would probably like something like this. I'm trying to keep an open mind. It reminds me a little bit, if you think of when those hats first came out for snowboarders that had the built-in speakers in the hats that connected via Bluetooth. So we know, I think, in some really niche markets that these things do work, but again, it's a very small group of people.
Yeah, and they didn't announce a price on it. I think that makes a big difference too, especially when you're dealing with a niche like that. By the way, I said touchscreen. It's just multi-touch sensor. There's no screen, so you'll have to get used to that. But you're right. I can see cyclists, motorcyclists, and maybe even bicycle riders wanting this for urban use, and actually definitely bicycle riders. I don't know why I said maybe. But are there enough of them willing to buy them? And that's why I think price is a determinant here, because if you're getting around that way, you don't want to spend another several $100s on a jacket just so you can turn your music up and down.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The one thing I will say, if we look at what's happening in many urban areas, is they're opening up more bike lanes. So we know that there are larger populations of people who are biking throughout their city. So in some ways, I feel like although it is niche and it is small, at least it is a growing market. So you're right, depending on the price point, they could have a good number of people using it.
Wall Street Journal has sources saying Verizon is the current favorite to purchase Yahoo's core web business, although the offer is going to come in a little low. $2 to $3 billion seems to be where most of the offers are expected to come in, maybe some a little bit higher. Previous valuations, though, expected $4 to $8 billion, and those kinds of bids are now considered unlikely. Yahoo has set the first week of June as the deadline for the first round of bids. I guess what this means is if all of the bids come in lower than expected, they could make a case for not selling it. I don't know how probable that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of in such a desperate position right now that they're going to have to sell it, right? Just to continue to move forward. But Yahoo just feels like one of those companies to me that it's just, I don't have too much hope for the future of Yahoo, let's put it that way.
I'll be interested to see who ends up with it. I guess there's still a little bit of a tinfoil hat that Marissa Mayer's presentations were designed to lower the bids to the point where the investors would pull off the pressure to sell. I don't think that's really what's going on. That could be the end result by accident. I don't think it's a plan. But I think it's more likely that somebody like Verizon ends up buying it, and then all of a sudden you have Yahoo and AOL in a very programmatic ad-driven company. And that has been the problem for Yahoo, is really monetizing content. Verizon's AOL department knows how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think there's a sliver of hope for Yahoo, but at the end of the day, I think we've both seen this over the years when you have a company like this that is doing poorly and they start to sell off assets, and more and more that they aren't necessarily the company that's going to be driving forward as far as having an innovative future. I think it's one of those things that, yeah, maybe they sell off and they last for 3 or 5 years, but I worry a little bit about their long-term future.
Yeah, it's a company with so much momentum that the short term is probably going to continue, right? But whether you can build that momentum back up or not, that's kind of the big challenge. Makes me think of Ziff Davis. PC Mac still going, right?
Yeah.
Like I would never have predicted that. So sometimes you defy the odds.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Mojang announced Friday that it's developing a version of Minecraft tailored for the Chinese market. The game will arrive through a 5-year licensing agreement with NetEase, which also manages Chinese operations for Blizzard. That means World of Warcraft in China, managed by NetEase, as well as StarCraft and others. I think they're even bringing Overwatch to the Chinese market for Blizzard. So that's just kind of the way this goes. You want to do business in China, the easiest way to do it is to partner with somebody who already has the proper licenses and approvals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my son is 7 years old, and he and all of his friends are hooked on Minecraft. It's been such a phenomenal worldwide hit, so I think it kind of makes a lot of sense for them.
Samsung has reached a deal with Ant Financial to let Samsung Pay users link their accounts to Alipay for retail checkout and QR code access. Ant Financial is the Alibaba affiliate that owns Alipay. So TechCrunch notes Apple's been working on a similar deal and hasn't got it yet, but this would allow Samsung to take advantage of Samsung Pay, in the Chinese market by partnering with somebody who's operating there.
Yeah, probably a good move for them.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see if Apple can strike a similar deal, whether it's with Alipay or someone else, although Alipay is the big gorilla there as far as payment platforms go. IMAX is working with Google's Jump platform to develop a cinema-grade virtual reality camera and will provide Google with existing cinematic footage for VR conversion. IMAX is also partnering with Star VR maker Starbreeze, we talked about that earlier this week, to launch VR centers in 6 locations worldwide, starting with Los Angeles and eventually including China as well. So the idea is to make IMAX movies in 3D VR. So I guess they're not even IMAX movies anymore. They're just 3D VR movies, but IMAX saying we want to plow ahead. We want to get people working on this, figure out how to crack that medium, and also have places to go for people who are like, I'm not buying a VR headset yet, but I want to see what's happening.
But Tom, this is the thing I don't understand. You know, they talk about locations. Why do you need a location if you have a virtual reality headset? Isn't the point that you don't have to leave home?
I think what IMAX is saying is not enough people are buying these things yet, so we're going to have a location so they can come and see what we've come up with, and then maybe that will inspire them to want to go buy them at some point. It's a way to get people into the market, and at the same time bridge that gap where right now not many people have VR headsets. It's way too early for that, but get people used to the idea that, oh, IMAX is the brand with the great VR movies. The bigger problem that none of this addresses is what is a VR movie? What does that actually end up meaning?
Yeah, absolutely. And also just I think the comfort level in terms of how long you want to wear the headset. I mean, a movie, it just seems too long to me. I've been playing around with the Samsung Gear VR and watching some of the content that's available now. And I mean, I can't imagine really wearing the headset for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a different length as a norm. And a lot of criticisms have been that the director in a movie tells you what to look at, but if you can choose to look everywhere, you might miss things. So you have to adapt to that. The director has to figure out how to allow you to be able to take advantage of 360 degrees, but also not just be putting a movie on over here that you could turn around and miss. I don't know how you do that yet. 9 to 5 Google reports Xiaomi has posted on its forums that it will announce its first quadcopter UAV May 25th at 7 p.m. local time. The Verge adds the Xiaomi forum moderator who left the post also said, something wonderful and cool is flying to us very soon. So Xiaomi getting into quadcopters seems very like cool. The thing to do. Yeah. My guess is they're probably partnering with somebody. In fact, some folks have speculated based on the fuzzy image that they think they know what partner they have, actually. Motorola is teasing a June 9th Lenovo Tech World announcement with a video that shows a lot of high school students using Motorola Razr flip phones. The video description reads, flip back to the Razr days of yesteryear and get ready for the future. Are we going to see a flip smartphone?
You know what? I loved my flip smartphone. I have to say, I thought it was one of the best out there. I can't see this actually happening, but I guess, you know, at some point, everything that's retro kind of becomes cool again. So maybe now is the time for the Razr. I mean,
maybe they've figured out how to crack it. You could have a touch screen and maybe have a small keyboard in there. But and that design, everyone still raves about that Motorola Razr design. But I just can't imagine trying to use that as a smartphone.
It doesn't look like something that would really work with today's software. But nonetheless, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an old story, but Torrent Freak reports on yet another example. When I say it's an old story, I mean we've heard this one before, but here's a new example of the asymmetry of YouTube's Content ID taking down an innocent victim. Here's what happened. An episode of Family Guy included a clip which is pretty much identical to a 2009 YouTube video by Switched that shows a glitch in the Nintendo game Double Dribble that allows you to get three-point shots. We could argue all day whether Family Guy recreated this or not, but the clip is virtually identical, so identical that it matches in Content ID. And of course, Fox, as usual, uploaded their Family Guy episode to the Content ID system on YouTube. That's meant to look for matches of unauthorized uploads and then block them so that people aren't pirating Family Guy on YouTube. Turns out, though, the way Content ID works is it doesn't know what's a fair use. It doesn't look at Switched and say, oh, well, he had it up first. It just says, I trust Fox because they're a partner. So it took down Switch's original video from 2009 that may be the actual video that Fox used in a fair use situation on their own episode of Family Guy.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you're right, though. This story has happened before, right? It's not the first time that we've heard something like this taking place. And yeah, I mean, it goes to show you that the system is severely flawed.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of balance. It's first of all, it's guilty until proven innocent. But also, if Switched definitely had uploaded that in 2009, and Fox is saying, well, this is a brand new episode, then by definition, he shouldn't. He should be able to take their episode down, right? Isn't that the way it should work?
It should actually work like that, but he's not Fox, so there you go.
Yeah, makes a difference. I've had this happen to me too. We actually had it happen on Sword and Laser, where we had someone send us a video to use in our show, which we then played in the show, and then Content ID went and took down the video that they'd sent us from YouTube because it was in our show. So we did that to people accidentally because Sword and Laser was part of a network, Geek and Sundry, that was part of Content ID system. It's just one of those things where there's haves and have-nots in that system. Haves and has-not? I don't know. Something like that.
Haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. GeekWire reports E-League, Turner Sports, and WMIME IMG competitive gaming venture have reached a multi-year deal with the Amazon-owned streaming platform Twitch to distribute live event coverage and on-demand content. According to a Time Warner press release, beginning Tuesday, May 24th, fans will be able to watch live streaming E-League coverage on Twitch each Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 games per day, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. Each Thursday during the 6-week regular season group play, E-League coverage will begin at 2 p.m. with a pair of best-of-3 matches. So esports, more esports on Twitch, the place you look for it.
Yeah, not a big surprise. My nephew is 21, and all he watches are esports. That's it. Like no baseball, no. He just basically that whole world. He's absolutely enthralled with it.
It is for this will make a few people shudder in the audience, but for good or ill, it is in fact the new ESPN for a lot of kids.
Absolutely.
And finally, Apple gave an early press tour of its new flagship store located on the northwest corner of Union Square in downtown San Francisco. The store consists of 42-foot sliding glass doors and a Genius Grove, not a Genius Bar. It's a grove because it actually includes living trees. You sit on a tree and someone helps you with your computer. Plaza will be open outside of the store 24 hours a day, featuring free Wi-Fi and, at least at launch, occasional performances from musicians. There's also a boardroom where people can get business advice from entrepreneurs and developers, as well as a 6K screen that will be used for teaching classes. Opens to the public at 10 a.m. Saturday in San Francisco. And this is going to be the launch point for our main discussion, but just the store itself, Amber, what do you think of this?
I think this is what retailers have to do in this day and age. I mean, there has to be a reason for people to get out of their homes and go to retail stores, and they want to experience something. They want to see it as a destination, because we all know how easy it is just to buy things online, so you really have to be able to draw them in. So I think this is a trend that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second, but thanks to everyone who submits stories on our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We got TG Stellar, another Jay Martin, CDN Dude 74 submitted one today. Steve I.O.'s already in there. Alan Char's got some stuff. Go check it out. It's like an expansion of the things you like from the show, and it helps us have a better lineup at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and that is a look at the headlines. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about that Apple store, but not just the store itself. I mean, it is gargantuan. The idea with those big 40-foot doors is they don't open every time someone goes in, but they just decide to open them on good days, and there's a lot of good weather days in San Francisco. So you have sort of an open-air plaza type feel, but all of this is spending a lot of money to get people to come in and look around. Angela Arendt's, former Burberry executive who runs retail for Apple now, says, we think of it as a community center. We just want people to come in, hang out, and interact with our products. It is not quite going as far as Samsung has done with their 837 store in New York, where they don't even carry things in stock. You can't buy anything there. I mean, you can buy it online there, but you can't walk away with anything there. They have a cafe and art installations. Same idea. Meanwhile, Ina Fried from Recode recently actually wrote up that it does seem like Microsoft stores aren't getting the foot traffic they should have, but Microsoft Retail General Manager Kelly Soledad said, are we pleased with our traffic? Yeah. Do we always want more? Yes. So it seems like Microsoft's not backing away from this, but they're somewhat in the middle, Amber. Like, we are seeing this trend of the retail store for electronics companies just trying to be a place to get you to interact with the brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically, if you look at Apple stores specifically, then they've always been these places where people go and they do interact with the brand. But I would argue that maybe they weren't necessarily that friendly in terms of wanting to hang out there. You sort of got the feeling in a typical Apple store that people wanted you to move along, right? There's not a lot of room to stand around. So I think it's just the evolution of this. And, years ago, if you looked at retail experts and when they were talking about the future of stores, they always talked about the future of stores as a showroom, as a place that people would come to experience something. And we're seeing that actually roll out today with many of these technology companies.
Yeah, and when you talk about showroom, immediately a lot of people think cars. Of course, there's a lot of rumors about Apple doing cars. This flagship store could definitely have enough space to roll a car in there, so that starts to boggle the mind. But that is the idea. Is sure they'll have some headphones and accessories and things that you can walk out with. But I've noticed a lot of times if I actually go to an Apple store to buy a laptop, they won't have the one I want. And they'll just say, well, you can just order it online and have it shipped to you. Like, there is a little bit of that showroom mentality built in. Do you think that this is something not only that could carry over to other retailers, because we've seen Sony kind of back off of this kind of solution, but could it apply to other areas of retail?
I think so. I mean, especially with the trend of customization when it comes to people buying products, right? We saw this with the Apple Watch when it first came out, and in most stores you would go to, you weren't able to buy it because there were just too many combinations that you could get as far as the straps and the watches. So I think we're seeing this all throughout the retail environment is people want very specific custom products, and that means they need to order them online because it's not possible that any store is able to carry the inventory necessary to be able to serve each and every one of those people who want that.
Although one of the things that I have started to see more often offered, in fact, Google's got a whole new ad system to encourage this, is I would like to buy this online. Oh, wait a minute, I can actually go pick it up at a location near me and not even have to wait for a delivery. And I did that recently with something at Best Buy. I hadn't been in a Best Buy in a long time, but they got me to walk in and I kind of look around and see like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing these days. And that, again, it's that idea of the showroom where maybe the next time I want to buy something, I will think of that store. I will think of Best Buy because I was able to pull that off. So it is interesting to see. We all wondered, especially in the dot-com boom, will all shopping go online and retail stores just go out of business? And it sounds like no, we still want those physical locations, maybe for picking things up in person that we ordered online, but also for just being able to interact, like you say, with watch bands, see what a laptop screen looks like, etc.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on the product, right? You're talking about Best Buy. Many of those products, perhaps if you went to buy a big flat screen TV, you don't necessarily want that customized. But if you look at a store like Nike, you could see the future of Nike where people want customized sneakers with their names on them. They would come into a showroom, they would look around, see what you could get, and then maybe even stand there with a tablet and order on the fly.
Yeah, no, it's all manner of things, because you're right. I don't want to customize a TV, but I also don't really want to have to drag it home myself if I don't have to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe there's a mix and match there. But wow, back to the new Apple Store. It is ostentatious, and I'm looking forward to my next trip to San Francisco to just go look at those 45-foot. Is it 45 or 42-foot? Sliding glass doors.
Wow.
So many issues. Like, having lived in San Francisco, and I know you've spent some time in San Francisco, like, how do you keep security in this kind of situation? And you got this 24-hour area out front. Are you always going to have somebody watching that area? It's
a little much. I especially noticed, I was just in San Francisco recently, and I lived there for 3 years, and I noticed that the homeless issue that they have there today is much bigger and much more of an issue than it was even when I was living there. And I know there's something that sort of just leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I see a store like this, and right around the corner, there's people living on the streets. It seems like a pretty ugly display of wealth and excess in some ways.
Yeah, and the other thing, Apple is taking a little bit of credit for this outdoor area. I believe that buildings of a certain size, in fact, I know that CNET's building in San Francisco had to include a public space that was available 24 hours a day. So I wonder if Apple's store is not big enough that it has to do that as well. In which case, it's not a bad thing that they're doing it and such, but they may not have had a choice.
Yeah.
But very interesting to see. And I'm curious. I'm even more curious about the Samsung 837 store. It's been open for a few months now, and I haven't heard much about it either way. I'm curious if that's going to pay off for Samsung as well. I think of the Century City Mall here in Los Angeles, which has an Apple store, has a Microsoft store, and had a Sony store, and the Sony store went out of business. So that made... Yeah, go ahead.
I think with Samsung, though, to your point about virtual reality, and I sort of made fun of IMAX and the locations, but I think in many ways that's the type of scenario where these stores do make sense, right? Someone can come in and experience virtual reality in the Samsung store, and that's something that, like you said, you kind of have to try virtual reality before you buy it.
Yeah.
So it's a very unique situation.
And that's actually one of the things Microsoft is doing is they're bringing the HTC Vive in. They're going to have the HoloLens available. So you may see them start to get more traffic into that store because they're the place that you can try that stuff out. Let's get to our pick of the day. Paul from Poland wants to recommend a space simulator for VR called Space Engine. He writes, it's a procedurally generated universe full of galaxies, stars, planets, moons, and nebula, which happens to be supported for Oculus and is freeware for Windows from XP up. Linux and Mac versions may be developed dependent on donations. You'll need a beefy machine to really run it, sans choking even without VR, but it can be done on moderate hardware. No Man's Sky is something that I've been waiting for, and Paul from Poland says, yeah, I know Tom's waiting for that, as am I, but this is equally great, if not better. You basically start off on Earth and can just explore the galaxy.
Love it. Looks cool.
spaceengine.org if you want the English version, en.spaceengine.org if you want to check it out. Thank you, Paul. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. We want to hear from you, and we'll put them up at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. All right, we got a few messages of the day. First of all, Amber, did you hear that Uber is testing their self-driving cars on the streets of Pittsburgh?
Ooh, I have not heard that.
Yeah, and one of the things, I mean, the reason they're doing it is they took a lot of people from Carnegie Mellon and hired them, so it makes sense for them to locate their testing there. But they also said, Pittsburgh provides some advantages in testing self-driving cars. So Justin Robert Young, who has lived in Pittsburgh, was talking about it on yesterday's show and invited people who live in Pittsburgh now to write in. We got some great comments. Here's a sample of them. Tim said, how are they going to turn into streams of pedestrians at the crossings? Because during rush hour, and this is true of a lot of cities, everybody's just streaming across, and if you want to turn left, you just kind of got to nudge your way in there. He says the two-way roads in Pittsburgh are often not wide enough to fit two cars. There's, of course, always university areas in any city with students jaywalking. David said that local names don't match the maps, and the streets on the maps aren't always reflective of reality, which I figure, well, you could fix that by just adjusting the maps. But he points out that in Pittsburgh, they have something called city steps. So the streets are listed as drivable on most maps, but they have steps in the middle because they're so steep that you really...
Wow.
You have to drive your car over the steps. He also talks about the tradition in Pittsburgh of the Pittsburgh left, where you let the first person at the light make a left before the oncoming traffic goes ahead in order to reduce congestion. I've seen people do that in LA, and it freaks everyone else out because they're not from Pittsburgh, I guess.
Is that a real thing? I've never heard of that.
I had not heard it called the Pittsburgh left, but I've seen it happen in reality, and that would be a different thing that you'd have to program your self-driving car for. And then finally, Bill said, on the bridges, street signs are located up in the girders, and by the time you see a sign that tells you what lane to be in, it's too late. So if they're relying on the signage in any way, that could mess them up as well.
It sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
No. But thank you, Pittsburghers, for sending us those observations. Thinnis in Cape Town said, you mentioned in your discussion that Google is pretty agnostic these days in their approach for Android and iOS support, and that might be true, but they're hostile towards Microsoft. He says very hostile towards Microsoft. No matter how many times you visit Gmail or Google.com with Edge, you get a prompt to download Chrome. This is behavior that just happens at Edge. You will not see that prompt for Firefox or Opera. However, you do see it in Safari. So they're definitely going after the manufacturer-made browsers. As a corporate user of Gmail, you have to change a setting in the security settings in your Google account to allow POP and iMac support for Outlook desktop. I think that's true for all POP and iMac support, but it's a fair point. And also to this day, Google has not shipped any Google apps for the Windows Store, nor allowed Microsoft to ship a YouTube app. I did find a YouTube app that says it was published by Microsoft, but I don't know if it still works. I remember there was a big to-do about that. So yeah, I mean, Microsoft has a smaller market share at 2.5% in the U.S., so you could argue whether it makes sense for anybody to develop for a market share that small, including Microsoft sometimes.
Yeah.
But he's not wrong. They are cross-platform where it's popular.
It makes sense for them, I think. I hate to say it, but
Yeah. But it also is very annoying to people who like to use Microsoft phones, so I get why Thinness is frustrated by it. We also talked about the ongoing tests for supersonic airlines that are happening in Australia, and Joe the pilot wrote in and said, "First, to my fellow pilots down under, we get paid by the hour, so I'm trusting you to make this illegal somehow. Second, please let me fly it before you shut it down. And third," he says airlines have been trying for years to make the supersonic flying business model work. Some of the best money the Concorde ever made was going to Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the world's largest fly-in and taking a full boat of passengers north into Canada to break the sound barrier. So in summary, so far, supersonic jet transport has been more viable as a carnival attraction than transporting passengers. Supersonic travel has books written on them, and they're mostly positive, so I have to assume it'll come back someday. But filling an airplane year after year with premium passengers looking to be in a city a couple hours faster than a 777 is tough. You can't just slow down the airplane and get back those fuel savings and initial purchase costs when the economy slows down. For now, we'll probably just keep traveling at 30 to 40,000 feet and at 450 to 470 knots.
I'm kind of okay with that, actually, before they test things out a little further.
I don't know, though. They said Sydney, what was it, Sydney to London in 2 hours? That's a 20-hour flight.
There's going to have to be a lot of test flights before that's safe.
Well, that's what they're in the middle of. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But isn't that tempting?
Yeah, it is tempting. I mean, that would be incredible. I mean, it would change the game for everyone, but I still think it's a long way off.
Toronto to Sydney in 2 hours?
I don't know. It's a lot better than the 2 times I've gone there, and it's more like 24. So.
Believe me, same here. Seth in LA has our last message. He says, both Wednesday with Scott and Thursday with Justin, the desire was voiced for an all-in-one headset and the inclusion of room sensing similar to the Vive. It occurred to me an option Google might be exploring would be integrating some of the tech they've developed for Project Tango. The idea that with a few extra sensors and cameras in the included hardware would be able to self-generate a true picture of your environment to navigate around would possibly even be more freeing than the Vive's lockdown play area. I'm sure someone in one of their R&D labs is toying with us, but who knows if it's power or cost prohibitive, so we'll never see the light of day, but an interesting convergence of technology. Yeah, there's been a lot of rumblings that Project Tango would hit a device at some point this year, and Google confirming that they will in fact be making their own version of Daydream VR. Maybe it would be a Project Tango based device. That would be interesting.
Tom, I think you're going to have to start doing a new VR show. It's just there's so much news constantly, right?
I know, right? And then I'm like, where do I put the 360-degree camera? Because you don't want to see that way right now.
I know. I just talk about the content first.
Yeah. No, exactly. There's so much going on in VR, and lots of it's funny to me that people are like, well, there's no new ideas in technology, and then all of a sudden we start to get the wave of them, and VR is one of them that people have said, I don't think it's real, but now that they're actually shipping products, I think we're seeing, well, there is something there. This is the fun part, right? This is the early part where we don't really know what it's good for yet, but it definitely does something.
I mean, I think I just read an article that said with the Samsung Gear VR in April of this year that 1 million people were using those devices. So, it's getting pretty substantial and becoming just more mainstream. But you're exactly right. These early days are always the most interesting.
Well, thank you, Amber Mack, for joining us. As always, Amber is at ambermac.com, AMBERMAC.com, and co-author of Outsmarting Your Kids Online, a book that Len Peralta is dying to read.
Yes, and depending on how well he drew things throughout the show, he might even get 2 copies.
If somebody wants to find out more about that, where should they go?
They can go to outsmartingyourkidsonline.com to check out what the book is all about. It's for parents to keep their kids safe on the internet, and it's also for sale on Amazon as well, both as a print version as well as an ebook.
Go check it out. You wrote that with a security professional, so you've got like a good combination of viewpoints there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were able to really cover both sides of things. And, I learned so much just throughout the process of writing the book. And, there's always stuff that comes up. So really important for parents, caregivers, all those people looking after kids.
Go check it out. Outsmartingyourkidsonline.com. All right, Len.
How did I do?
How did you do with your drawing today?
I think I did okay. I'll let Amber decide. Actually, the main story, of course, with the Apple retail store is you had mentioned that Burberry, the old former CEO of Burberry, was handling that, the retail aspect of it. And so I kind of took that a little bit further. I think it's not going to be too long before you start seeing Apple-themed clothing. Like this young woman is wearing the Apple hat. She's got that cool little Apple, like the old school G5 sort of dress going on. And, I was able to work Amber into the drawing as well. Hopefully that's that works out. You have wonderful
Seems a bit shocked at the G5 dress. I have to
it is a little bit shocking, I think. It'd be very, very upsetting to see, I would think, someone in this sort of capacity. But I don't know. So there you go. It's it's my viewpoint on what the future of the Apple retail store might become, probably in about 6 months.
I love it.
See, you won, Len.
I did win. I won it all. And just so everybody knows, this print is available at my online store currently at lenperaltastore.com. And you can also, if you back me at patreon.com/Len, you can get all these images I draw every Friday as high-res images that you can download to your phone, put it up. You can print them out. They're very high res. They'll look great printed, and it throws me a couple bucks as well per month. And then finally, I know you didn't ask Tom, but I'm just going to sort of barrel through here. I want to let everybody know about a Kickstarter that is currently running that I am sort of involved in a capacity. It's if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Freaks and Geeks, then you should definitely check out Renfest on Kickstarter. Just go to renfestivity.com. It'll take you straight to the page. It's the talents of Mystery Science Theater and Freaks and Geeks doing a kind of an office-themed sort of thing at Renfest, and it's funding right now. It's going on until June 9th, so you have some time, but you really want to get onto it right now. There's some great perks, great stuff that you may want to check out, so go check it out, renfestivity.com.
Renfestivity.com. That looks great. I love those guys. They're hilarious. So,
they're hilarious, for sure.
The John Stricklands of the world should definitely be taking a look at this.
Absolutely. John Strickland, he's that's right up his alley, man, right there.
Thanks to everybody who supports this show. We cannot exist without you supporting us. If we're worth $1 of your time every month, then go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and figure out how to divvy up that $1 or more. We even provide a few more perks if you want to give more than $1 a month at patreon.com/DTNS. And if nothing else, just tell folks about the show. We've been getting some nice reviews from people on iTunes and elsewhere. So keep that up, folks. Keep spreading the word. Circulate the tapes. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and visit our website at dailytechnewsshow.com. Got a Sunday version of the show with Peter Wells, and then we'll be back with Veronica Belmont on Monday. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show, you guys. That was fun.
Yeah, that was super fun. It always goes so fast.
I know. It flies by.
It does. Well, thank you for having me. It was nice to see you guys
Amber,
again.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah, it was super fun. All right, well, enjoy the rest of your Friday.
All right, you too. Have a great weekend.
We'll keep in touch. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks again.
Take care. Bye.
What shall we call this show, Roger?
Just so there's no voting again today. So let us pick from the list.
There's no voting?
I'm sorry?
There's no voting?
No, Showbot's down. And so they've been doing a little Google Doc thing, which means there's no voting. But we have a list of them. So yeah, just pick some of the ones that tickle your fancy, Roger.
So let me see. Mix and Match Mobile, A-Tap Dancing, Answer Your Jacket, Yaw, whatever, or is that Yaw, YAW?
I think they're just trying to say your Chinese name.
Smart flip phone, Xiaomi the drone. That's pretty funny. The MCA is all in the family.
It's not a bar, it's a grove.
Ooh, that's.
Open the San Francisco. Yeah, you were about to say that one. Huh?
Oh, open the San Francisco pod bay doors.
Yeah,
that's
I like
funny.
that one.
It's very Kubrick.
Apple stores with grassy knolls.
Ah, that might be a.
She doesn't like that one. Definitely doesn't like that one. I actually like either open the San Francisco pod bay doors or it's not a bar, it's a grove. Len, do you have a deciding vote?
I'm sorry, I wasn't. I was looking at something else.
Len.
I usually look at the Showbot thing. I'm sorry.
It's not a bar, it's a grove.
Oh, that's what I like. That's the one I like because I laughed at that one.
All right.
I like that one.
All right, let's go with that. It's not a bar, it's a grove. An Andy Grove. Wait, that's the wrong company. He's from Intel.
Is it? I mean, what runs inside Apple machines, or at least their laptops?
That's true. That's true. They are Intel processors inside. Not Grove era processors, though. Are they? I don't think so. Okay. Oh, right, because I got to do that over there. What else you been up to, Len?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I've just been running this thing. I've been doing that. I've been watching
festivity.
Ren festivity. I've been on so many phone calls over the past couple of weeks. It's been nuts, and I'm running this event on Tuesday for it through Twitch TV, which will be interesting, and I've never done that before, so I'm learning a lot on the job. It's very fun. It's very interesting, but yeah, what's going on with you?
I am actually taking next Friday off.
Oh.
So you'll be on with Justin Robert Young and Steve Kovac.
Oh, nice, very good. Oh, that's
At least I think it's Steve. We may
that's the before the big holiday weekend.
Yeah. What you doing for Memorial Day?
I have no idea. Oh, you know what? I do know what I'm doing. My son turns 4 this week, and we're not able to have his party, so we're gonna do it on the weekend. So
you're gonna have a traditional birthday barbecue?
Birthday barbecue. Oh my gosh. Here's a funny little story. I don't even know if we're going to be able to have a barbecue, only because in our backyard we have these robin nests, and the robins have now they've been born, and the mama robin is really, really super protective of them. So if I send my dog out there, I noticed it when I took the dog out in the back, and this bird was dive bombing us.
Of course.
So now it's dive bombing the dog. It dive bombs anybody that goes out there at any time. So I have to actually go out and mow tomorrow, and I don't know if I should wear like a hat and goggles and stuff so I don't get.
Just imagine you out there with a football helmet on.
I am honestly, it's really disconcerting. I mean, the things never come close enough to me to like hurt me, but
it's just sending you a message. That's
yeah.
Do you have like a pith helmet, or like maybe a football or hockey helmet?
I should probably find. Yeah, I do have. You know what I do have? I have a Darth Vader helmet. So
Ooh.
I'll look very chic as I'm mowing the lawn tomorrow in my Darth Vader helmet. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then tonight I'm seeing a play that my daughter is in and hearing her sing. So it's
going to the theater.
Not really the theater. It's more like a schools type thing.
No, I know, but
it's it is prom weekend, just so you remember that.
Oh, no kidding. Wow,
not for anybody in our family, but
I bet that's true a lot of schools.
Yes.
Oh, that's the worst weekend.
It is the worst.
Oh, I was going to ask you, when I was describing all those Pittsburgh driving things, did those sound Clevelandish to you too, or were they fairly Pittsburgh specific?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. I mean, Pittsburgh and Cleveland are almost like the same thing, so it's like, it's very similar.
Yeah, that was a lot of the emails we got just said, the thing about Pittsburgh is we have crazy rush hour traffic, and I'm like, yes, That is true of a lot of places. Like the left turn into pedestrians thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's absolutely true. That's true in Chicago and San Francisco and parts of LA, and like that's not a Pittsburgh specific thing per se. But some of the steps, I've never heard of that. I mean, in San Francisco, you think they'd have stuff like that. And they have some pretty steep streets in San Francisco, but nothing that allows cars that also has steps on it.
No, I haven't seen that. But
and maybe they're lying about it allowing cars. Maybe it just looks that way. A lot of those things were like on the map it says, I'm like, well, they can fix that. They just do their own mapping, right?
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
Oh, everybody is in the chat room yelling my name.
You got good reviews on the picture.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope. I know Amber had to leave. I don't know if I insulted her or not with her.
Oh no, I don't. I think she really did like it. She might have said, "Oh,
that's great. Okay, whatever." All right. Well, I've been sitting for 3 hours straight. Yeah, that's the thing. How like when you I've seen you prep for your show.
That's also called being American, Len.
Yes. Like, do you before you're doing your show, like how long are you sitting at your computer literally in front of like what?
I
what
move around a lot. I start my prep upstairs now.
Okay.
And then I move from. Okay, this is a little too much information. Sometimes I do a lot of the prep in the bedroom, just laying down on the bed.
Sure.
Because I start before I even get up with my tablet, and so then I'll move to the couch, and then I'll eat lunch. So I'll move to the dining room table, and I'll take the dogs out, and then when I bring the dogs back in is when I come down here. But I'll sit over on this couch until it's actually time to sit down and start making the hangout, and then I'll sit at this desk. Yeah, but I know the idea should be like, oh, I'll just sit down at this desk and I don't have to move. But I don't want that.
Yeah, when are you getting your runs in? Because I've noticed your.
I do those in the afternoon mostly after the show.
All right.
Unless, like yesterday, the schedule did not permit because I had to take Sawyer to the vet, so I did my run at 9 in the morning yesterday. But I used to do it at 9 all the time, and it was just too much. It was just caused too much of a crunch sometimes.
Yeah, especially when
do
you're
them
ready
after.
for the show. Right.
Like I'm going to go run now before Current Geek because I don't have Current Geek till 4.
Oh. And you'll be all sweaty for that. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, well, hopefully I come back, I shower, I cool down enough, and then.
Yeah, I'm making you share way too much information.
No kidding, man. Like the Charlie Rose came out.
I'm sorry about. I didn't realize that it was. I mean, but I noticed that like on Fridays I am sitting for long periods of time, and so I need to get moving and up and out. So.
Roger, I'm sorry, I accidentally muted you.
No, I muted myself.
Oh, you did? Okay, I thought I did it.
All right, guys. All right, well, I'm gonna start getting ready for this.
All right, man.
So I will not see you next Friday, but I will see you, Roger. Correct?
Yes. With
Excellent.
Justin and Steve.
Right on. All right, and we will see you guys next week then.
All right.
All right.
Have a
Take
good
care,
weekend.
everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, I am publishing the show. So thanks, everybody, for watching and listening and supporting. And I will see you on Monday. Don't forget about Day 6 with Peter Wells coming out this Sunday. Bye.